Go for it.
Yeah. No, totally. I'm like
exposed completely.
Yeah, you're like fine. That's cool. So that's a residency that you're a part of right now?
It was me and my friend just do this like long every year, just sort of like retreat there.
Oh.
And then after that, a couple weeks ago, we just like both been very hands off and had a lot of fun spaces. When first we went to Alpine, we went to the Thai food.
That's awesome.
And they were much shorter. They seem to be twins, perhaps. Much more mature but lost.
Yeah. In captivity. So maybe you can.
I don't think it's like that.
Yeah, it's too dead. Shall I get us like everything?
I will have a wine.
Do you want
A wine. I'll have one wine.
Never tell when things clash together. So it shades of faith and it's like all the same. I don't know, not for like any
Good, how you doing?
Yeah, so like it's a tournament on my
Not a single dollar, no.
Second installment of the series. Thank you, Grace, Alyssa, and Sophia, for opening up the space for us to perform in and to just like share art within Seattle. I feel like it's a pretty like common theme in Seattle to either like have art but no space, or have space but don't know what to do with it. And it's just very cool that you were like, oh, we do have this space, and we like know that you do this thing. So what if we did that thing here? And then just some quick acknowledgements. I want to acknowledge that this reading series is happening during a time of genocide that the country that we live in is actively participating in. I want to acknowledge that queer people in this country are facing like horrors that we've been facing, but they're a little more prominent now. And I want to acknowledge that like this is happening on occupied native land. And I think that part of like acknowledging these things is remembering that like Native people are not gone, Palestine is not gone, queer people are not gone. We are all here, and the more like we speak up about like what's happening, the more that we support each other, the more that we like pay each other for art, the more that we like provide space for each other to speak, the more likely, I don't know, just like the more power there is with that. So thank you all for being here, thank you all for supporting art. And now I'm gonna read some bios. Originally, I'm not very good at public speaking. I'm good at performing because I can just kind of check out. I'm not great at like the talking in front of people part. And originally I was going to have everyone's bios on the projector so that I wouldn't have to do that because I get nervous. But anyway, I am going to do that because these are really beautiful artists and they wrote their bios. And bios are hard. So bios are so hard. First we have BLUEs.WEAVE. BLUEs.WEAVE is a guitarist, producer, and this is the reason why I don't like to do this. I'm from the South. I can't talk. Improviser, that's the one. Whoa. Seamlessly stitching soundscapes, beats, and acoustic compositions into experimental poetic forms. Drawing from a deep well of Black American performance styles and compositional approaches, their genre-defying work meditates on the infinite potential for Black creativity to transmute past and present pain into hope and love. Gloria, who goes by the name Genesis, is a poet. Is a poet whose interest in creating worlds through words began at a young age. She believes in the power of writing things into existence and reimagining our future outside of the colonial constructs that make up our realities. As she is navigating her way back to childhood loves, writing being one of them, she is exploring how to survive whole and how to keep her finger on the pulse of her intuition in a culture of severance and numbness. Garison is a poet and artist. They founded and co-organized Threshold, a queer hybrid poetic performance art series, and make art books from the woods. More about them at cassgarison.com. Cass also has some little zines, some works of art that they've created. Their art is wonderful. If you're interested in it at some point, I highly recommend checking them out. And then we have Marco, who I did not copy and paste into this document. So we're going to look that up really quick. Okay. Marco Farroni Leonardo is a Dominican interdisciplinary artist based in Seattle, Washington, whose practice spans dance, performance, oral history, and mixed media. They hold a BFA in dance from the University of Arts. Grounded in embodied research and community-based stories, Marco's work explores themes of home, the body as an archive, the Black dysphoria, and memory. Their work has been present at numerous cultural and performance venues across Seattle, including Velocity Dance Center, Wanawari, Base Art Space, 10 Degrees Art, Spectrum Dance Theater, the AIDS Memorial Pathway, River, and 12 Path Arts. Marco is a recipient of the Artist at the Center Residency this year, 2025, our Lord and Savior, as well as a member of Black Collectivity and the second cohort of Wanawari Seattle Black Spatial History Institute. If you'd like to support your artist tonight, I have a little Venmo code set up right back there. It has a little cup beside it with a little dollar bill in it. The suggested donation is $15. I understand that like sometimes $15 is just not possible. That does not mean you do not deserve good art. Art should be accessible. Art should be for everyone, no matter what your class is, no matter how much you make. I feel like my life would have been radically different if I had been exposed to art at a younger age. And so because of that, I will never not let somebody not come because they can't afford it. But if you do have money, and if you are willing to support the artists tonight, we've got the good food back here. And it'll be up all night. Okay.
Yeah, let's pass it around.
And now we're going to read some poetry. If you like something, please feel free to react. I think that sometimes, like, Seattle is such a polite city, and I love it for that. They don't want to throw anybody off. Nobody wants to you know, you don't want to like get too loud. You don't want to get too rowdy. We're not going to get too rowdy, but you can get loud. So, fruit snacks. The papaya is the most fuckable fruit. More on that later. When I think about sexy fruits, though, it's the pomegranate that comes to mind. I can't think too long on tart, crimson-stained lips without getting flushed. Eve ate something like a pomegranate to be close to God, and is now called the mother of sin. It's why some women bleed. It's why some women bleed. Persephone ate 7 seeds of a pomegranate and was cast into the underworld. For 3/4 of the year, she is forced to live with Hades. It's why we have winter. Her mother mourns how she could not save her daughter from a god who stripped her bare, who robbed her of her body. The first girl I kissed got caught eating pussy and was sent to conversion camp. It took 7 months to pray the gay away, and when she came back from that hell, bare and wilted in the spring, all the men in town treated her like a papaya. Well, what is homosexuality anyway, and what causes it? The world shrieks, it is a crime. The world cautions, it is a gaslit delusion. They try to convince us we are all perverse. They want us to believe we are all insane. A friend of mine says Luis Suarez made him gay. He spent his early teen years hoping he'd marry him. Suarez also made him want to be a pro soccer player, but his horny ass could never be around that many balls. Instead, he became a florist. Recently, he married a man that fucks fruit for internet money. And let me tell you, you should charge more for it. He says that homosexuality is a love so bare, so deliciously bloody, so beautiful, that jealous men and angry gods would rather light you on fire than lay their eyes on something they can never have. Hard Nipple Club. Hot tub tempo balances the 35-degree December steam. In pathogen and actogens, pulse pull us closer away, then closer again. Are you afraid? I ask, dehydrated, happy, sitting in water, looking at water, feeling like water. You smile, shake your head, no. Even if it's a lie, you've never been more brave. I run each little taste bud over you just in case. You've already done your Reddit research and your Benedetti pre-op prep. Sensation may never return, but then again, most of us don't really feel anything anyway. And the days leading up to the titty guillotine, topless Polaroids litter our apartment. Mementos to the handsome false armor you're about to saw and slow. Post-op whirlwinds. Post-op whirls around, beep boop buzz machines, cold metal, soft tubes, nerve drain, crash course, nurses that don't nurse, unable to lift your new body, no body count on that new body. On that new body, lean left if you need to puke. First small sips of Diet Coke, then I can take you home. Everything running in and out and over. You catch a glimpse of yourself and cry. Even with the red, yellow drip, compression vest fangs biting into your flesh, bruising purple, pepperoni nipples, you have never been more you. A year later, unbuttoning your sheer white top, pink soft scars barely show now. Hard nipples salute the city. Seattle has never been so lucky. Every moment of the Oxy nightmare recovery was worth this home you live so beautifully in. I run my tongue over your chest and strap on the purple cock. We taste like each other when I ask, how does it feel? Your breath and smell catches. The answer echoes in your whole body, everywhere.
The form of what it means for me. So thank you for being here, and I'm very honored to be in just such a beautiful space and presence. I feel like I've just been writing in fragments, so I have no idea like what is gonna come out until the last second, so we're all in for a surprise. I'll start with pieces that I've already written that just being in this space with the art that is around us, just what that like felt for me, even before I saw any of this, so give me a second. Threads. My mother died a multitude of deaths. I bore witness to many, many more were before my time. The ones I can attest to when something like this, her life bleeding out of her hands, her soul leaking through her tear ducts, leaving her behind vacant. An invasion of the body as she quickly transformed within mere minutes, eyes bulged out of their sockets, arms twisted and bent out of shape, veins popped out of the skin of her neck. She opened her mouth to speak, but she could only retch the poison that was eating her. In those days, my mother never remembered her words or herself, only her anger. Someone once told me that our souls were tethered. Not all mothers and daughters are connected like that, I know blood isn't the only thread that ties families together. Curses are ligatures too. Weaving the same story of heartbreak and bitterness through generations, curses made a bed out of my mother's tongue, coursed her blood. It broke her skin, abrasions covering her like potholes on the worn down street we grew up on. The edges of her scabs blackened from dirt she doesn't remember to cover her scars. Even so, she tried her very best to keep death to herself, swallowing her fortune. She wanted to keep me from falling to this fate too, this suffering we call womanhood. That's why she did not want to have a daughter, for daughters are born all pores, absorbing their mothers into themselves, even long after the umbilical cord has been cut off. She knew that daughters were born with an inheritance of pain and that sons are born into a legacy of harm. There's a thread that sews the four chambers of my heart together. And sometimes when my father speaks, the stitches come apart. I feel the dog that lies within my ribcage rise from its sleep. When the beast is awake, I feel that I am everything I've been running from. All the ugly things. Its jaw widens as it bares its teeth in eagerness, hungry at the smell of my blood, and as I am my mother's daughter, I too am covered in open wounds. In another version of this story, it would have devoured me and I would have been the worst of both parents. In another version, I would not have known myself. This one is Grief Chamber. How do you grieve someone living? I've been wishing you dead for so long that my heart sometimes forgets that yours is still beating. It's a place I seldom visit, but somewhere in the crawl space between my chambers, I built a shrine for you and all of my disappointments, hoping that this would absolve both of us of our sins. I don't pay much visit because it's costly to look at you and see myself reflected back. If I linger here, I know what they'll say, and I wish that was all that it cost me to visit this place. But while they can see the chip on my shoulder, what they can't is the cracks on the walls of this room that spreads across my chest cavity and breaks me open. It breaks me that I can't love you the way that I really want to, because you will not love me in the ways that I need. It breaks me to also know that you have loved me to your capacity, that this was your capacity. It breaks me to see all the ways that you've been broken. It breaks to know that you'll never acknowledge them, so I cannot either. It breaks me to imagine that somewhere in the chambers of your heart there is a room full of shrines that you built out of your disappointments that you could not bring yourself to visit. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I definitely need to make this taller. I'm like, how can I send these thank yous so someone will come and help me with this mic? I think that's perfect. All right, so two poems for this first moment, and I feel like for me, like the most fun part about reading in person, when poetry is often like a transmission on the page, is getting to provide like Easter eggs or content notes. So, content note for the first poem. I spent like most of my adulthood as a lesbian, so I do know the value of sapphic devastation when I reference it. It's not coming from a place of not complete understanding. My first one is called I'll Spare You the Details. And this is about a year old, and the rest are newer, but it felt like a fun one to rehash for tonight. I'll spare you the details. I want to be treated like a stupid man, but I yearn like Dostoevsky and Sappho combined, which is all to say the psychiatric medication is warranted. Your name... Really airing myself out here. Your name is everywhere because it's a common name, not because God meant anything by it. To be happy in the conventional sense of the word, like every good tourist does, but I can't believe in happy these days because I'm a poet, and I'm convinced that when I find happy, I'll lose the poems. I am deeply invested in puncturing things that God has told me not to touch, which is why I can't grasp the idea of inappropriateness when I am the one with less power. I want to ask, do you sleep at the right times? I mean, have you seen me in a dream? Do you know I go somewhere else when I read your name, even tethered to a different human? I don't mean to romanticize you, or anyone for that matter, just to say that your voice has made me lose track of centuries. Someone once loved me like that, and I could have loved her back if I wasn't too fixated on devastating myself. It seemed, in the moment, the most responsible thing to do. Well, a lemonade. No, I had a Sprite. I was getting a Sprite at the weird golf bar before this. I was struck with the impulse to like kind of re-edit it, so we'll see how it goes. Might not be smooth on the tongue. It's called Chronotopic Investigation. Between the small moments of earthly reprieve and the restless astrological phenomena, between the one moon we've always known and the other newly shifted into view, or perhaps between a sip of champagne on your porch and the cigarette I shape my lips around like a lover. How strange, the hours of decisive overlap paired with the hours we weave away at slightly varied angles, and stranger that I've needed to force myself to circumscribe every thought's exclusivity to my brain and every thought's exclusivity to yours. Yeah, sure, the chrysanthemums are still caged and the roses have wintered despite being given ample water and expected to not succumb to the season. At Flower's End, I used to write to God, convinced that all divinity must be housed in a human body and thus reachable by mail. I didn't have a clear ask, but I don't think that made me more of a fool than anyone else. Without belief in a clear recipient, everything baffles. Afternoon's decision to quell morning's dew, kindle a heat so severe it cut short the sun's breath. baffles the expectedly pink tongue that speaks every name I've ever known and then speaks to me no more, baffles the brain's immensity, over beholden to the conditions of its genesis, mechanized the hand far too stuck in its aggrandized task of making meaning. Yes, I've been investigating for decades, but I'm finally able to trust that I'm alive without a you to prove it. Dust slinks under my door in delicate fractals after having traveled an indeterminate distance. A single dim sliver hooks and then softens around my body's perimeter, and there is no you to prove it.
Walking in the rain, always going somewhere, huddled under one jacket, under awnings, under eyelashes, and it's always raining out here. Out here, the pomegranate grove is boundless. Dusk never yielding to dark. Here, wrapped in mauve, almost every detail of the past forgotten. I do not love this world for its answers, nor crave its comfortless, glorious meanings. Good thing too, for I know what it is to forget. Eating seeds off my fingertips, I've got all the time I can stand. Time to be devoured, time to be wrong, time to hunger, time to digest what has been lost, what can't be undone. Abandon the explanation for the question. Can you even tell if your eyes are open? First, one learns to discern when they are awake. Then, one learns how to see in the dark.
This. And then I, like I. Yes, hook, yes, wire bend. Dear I, yes, hook, yes, wire bend. A sliver of twine, an ellipsis of fruit flies toward a sweet red plum, a confiscation of what you remember, of what they remember, of what remember you of you or them, or of the memory itself of memory. The fruit flies, the plum, the wire bend and wire spine, and memory and the entire confiscation, like I said, of everyone's memory, because if mine must be gone, then what of anyone else's? What use, if not in me, then can't be in you, or if not to prove through the eye the holding of a thing, then the thing must not be held. But you say in you, and so if in you, you say must be in I, and then must be held again the thing. It came out of me, yes, the hook-bent wire, the bloody plum, all the insects I could imagine when the empire was where it is now, or before it was now where it was, but wherever it was and is now, it came out then, and then when it came out, was or where were less important than the hole from which it came. How miraculous for there to have been a hole for it to have, and how beautiful and full of holes it is, I am. Have you heard about the revolt against love? Have you heard of the train car redolent of history? Have you heard about the pig singing its song of garbage, which it would or would not sing if it were or were not prior filled with what languaged into garbage for reasons I am unable to understand? I was never able to just go on with my life, no. Not after this, and not after the this before this, or this before this, or the before this before this before, I was never able to just go on. So
Service. There's no end to what a living world demands of you. You arrive and it asks, what do you want to be? As if you weren't already. You have to be something it demands. You have to be of service. There's no end to what a living world demands of you. See, I'm trying to remember relief on this long walk to the slaughterhouse. Is it a breath to take, a beat? Maybe it's a 30-minute lunch break. I never had ambition or drive, something worth being I want to strive for. That used to be a quiet shame I called mine. There's no end to what a living world demands. I cannot tell you the toll it is taking on my body, this droving to market, my body to market. Born for sale, they marked it. Womb delivered through walls, then delivered to an abattoir. My openings cut deep, deep, and deeper still. It wants to withdraw from my reservoir endlessly. There is no end to what empire demands. To serve my limbs, to be served my liver, skin, teeth, and tongue, all severed. I have nothing to spare from myself.
Well, the blues is back from her bender. The depths, the hell, the suffering sent her. Perpetuated pain, but now she's centered. Now seeking compensation for services rendered. Picked up offender, well and Ibanez. Flow colder than the rising dead. The ancestors that were still when she lies in bed. And now she joining sacred voices. Listen closely, she said. These the forbidden dances they told us to never use. Sounds too raucous to move through if you believe what they tell you. If you use the lenses that they see through. They hope your presence is see-through, that the public don't see you because your truth stand rooted higher than the lies that they sling against you. Because you proof, uncomputed, that one can take pride in the things that they take offense to. Live a life outside the fence and watch them move into defense. Who? The bigots and those who choose not to rock the boat called hate as we suck into a fascist state led by a basket case. And as they made us, they scapegoats. Fuck that. Reject it. Let your spirit float. Dance and emote the ways that come natural. 20 minutes on this stage, and in this state, I be masterful. Listen to these sounds. Nod your head, bring the youth. This the BLUEs.WEAVE, delivering the truth.
Thank you.